Hi guys, welcome to the vent.
So I started working in this organization. I'm not going to talk about what the organization is. And at the interview, I told the boss, my situation. I'm a single mom. My child's in nursery at the time, and I've got to pick up my child at this time. And I let him know everything. I didn't lie to get the job. I let him know straight ahead because I don't want no confusion. He said, "Oh, that's fine. I can get you to do lunchtime cover. You can help me train other people." Cool. He made me train other people. He loved bomb me differently. And it got to a point where when I trained up all these staff members to how he liked, he then started saying ridiculous things and doing ridiculous things. Like he would put on the aircon in the winter. And with aircon, it can spread germs and also it's cold, right? So I came up to him respectfully and I said, "Look, boss, it's cold in here. Can you please turn the aircon off? Or if you're going to put it on for a little bit and then turn it off, please, because I'm freezing. I'm going to get sick." And you know what he said to me? He said, "You're not working hard enough."
And you have to also think, if we weren't in this same work situation, would we still be friends? No. Some work environments can be very toxic. When you look at what goes on, the amount of backbiting, the amount of just people trying to one-up each other, that is not a friend. You know what I mean? These are people who you have to spend a lot of time with to get a job done. And you think that you're friends with them because you're spending a lot of time together. Now, you would have thought, oh, we'd be really close because we're together however many hours a day. You'd think we'd be so close, we're building a bond. But no.
She might be right, but there are definitely exceptions. Let me know if any of your best friends have been coworkers.
As soon as you turn your back, they are talking about you. They are talking about your work ethic. They finding stuff to pick with you about. They run into the boss lying on you. Like, you guys, I cannot make this up. I literally cannot make this up. That was one of the reasons why I got out of facility work. I don't want to work in the facility anymore. I don't want to work for anybody anymore, period. But especially that kind of work when I'm constantly around women. I'm going to say women because the field that I was working in, it was more women. When I'm around women and I want to cultivate friendships, but I'm the type of person, I'm just going to go to work and get my job done and just go home because I've went down that road so many times. It normally do not end well. So I just try not to even open that door, you guys. I think that when you are in a work environment, it should be work, and then you should separate it some type of way. And I'm not saying that I haven't hooked up or linked up with the females outside of the job, because sometimes it is cool to go have fun and let your hair down, but you cannot do that with everybody. Everybody is not your friend. So that was another reason why having coworkers as friends can be terrible, like a terrible, terrible idea, you guys.
She might be right. So this YouTuber is Glow Up Glam, right? And what she's basically saying is, hey, those people might come across as your best friend in the world inside the walls known as your workplace. But when you're outside, all of a sudden they could be one day your best friend, but the next day they could be a spy keeping an eye on what you're doing and relaying that stuff to other people that you might not want to know what you're doing.
And at this point, I was like, is this man actually mad? Is he crazy? Then I thought, okay, cool. You know what? He's the boss. He's always probably having a bad day or whatever. Cool. Let's just leave it. Whatever. This is a job. This is not your life, right? Cool. Long story short, he employed a manager who knew nothing about nothing. She never liked me for whatever reason. And it got to a point where they kept trying to nitpick at me and saying that you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. It got to a point where I was working so hard. Customers would actually buy me gifts. They'll buy me chocolates, they'll buy me plants, they'll buy me anything to say thank you for your hard work. That made this boss so jealous that she was trying to kick me out. She's extended my probation, right? Because I was kind of new to the company. Extended my probation, And then everyone was like, I think you should leave. Everyone knew that she hated me and she was chatting shit about me, right?
She's on her probation period. So she's there for 60 to 90 days on this probationary period. That's not only a time for your boss to get to know you, it's a good time for you to get to know your boss. This is one of those situations where you almost want to throw up your hands in the air and say, if it's like this at the beginning, it's probably going to be like this at the end as well. And this might be a job where I would recommend stepping away from because it's just a bad vibe right from the get-go. If you agree with me, let me know. If you believe that, hey, every job should at least have a chance of working out and disagree with me, let me know as well.
Long story short, I put my foot down. I was like, look, bitch, you ain't going to get me out of here. Obviously, respectfully, I don't call her a bitch to her face, obviously. I was like, look, I don't see what I'm doing wrong. I do my job. I come on time. You're just upset that I'm not doing a full shift like you and you're a deadbeat. You're in a dead end job and you don't like it and you're a big woman age. But I thought, okay, she's a black woman. She's a single mum. You know, maybe she's just going through things and not take it personally. Long story short, the woman got me sacked.
So there was a time, once upon a time, at least in America, and it sounds like she might be in the UK, but once upon a time, you had a lot of respect for your supervisor, manager, and boss to the point where if you did say something about them being in a dead-end job, it might cost you your job. Nowadays, things are a little different because we have HR departments, or at least we do here in the US with a lot of companies. But this is one of those things where it's hard for me to determine. Is she a disgruntled employee that's so new where during the probationary period, you're basically using your discretion as an employer and saying, hey, she's not a good fit? Or do you guys think there might be something up here and maybe she's been treated unfairly?
And I made this comment, like, work people are not like they're not your friends. Like they're not your friends. And then one of the girls was like, oh, thanks, Asiri. And then I was just like, it's true. And when I ended up leaving the company, did sis hit me up? No.
So this is Asiri. The name of her video is Coworkers Are Not Your Friends, because here's a reality. When people leave the job, you know, they quit, they get fired, whatever, they resign. A lot of times, even though they were your friend every single day you at work, they leave and you never hear from them again. And you might even try to reach out to them on Facebook or something, but believe me, they might as well be 6 feet under. They're out of your life forever. And what Asiri says here is true. A lot of times your best friend in the workplace might never reach out to you outside of work. It can be a little off-putting, but at the same time, I have had a lot of coworkers where I was able to hang out with them outside of work, so I know that there are exceptions to the rule. Tell me what your thoughts are on this below.
Did she ever, no. I remember hitting her up like once or twice because I sent her like another opportunity that I saw and I was like, oh, she'd be perfect for that. Because I'm just that kind of person.
Okay, now, did you guys hear that? This is so funny because sometimes people don't see things from other people's points of view. Imagine if one of your coworkers that you don't hang out with outside of work too often, imagine if all of a sudden they reach you because they hear about an opportunity that you would be perfect for, looking out for your best interest, right? But at the same time, I could see that and be thinking, oh, you want a commission for getting me to be a coworker with you at your new place. So there could be alternative motives. I don't know if you finding a job for somebody necessarily is seen as a positive thing.
And then I messaged her about something else, but she didn't hit me up to be like, how are you doing? How are you? How are things? You know what I mean? So like, that just lets you know this is just strictly a work relationship. It doesn't go beyond that. Don't ever get it twisted and think these people are your friends, because they're not. Keep it cute and keep it classy, because I always used to get my feelings hurt. I put that expectation on my colleagues to be friends, but then when they weren't living up to that friend sort of expectation I had, I would get up like kind of upset, or I would just be like, I'm just whatever, I'm keeping to myself, or I'd get my feelings hurt.
They secretly don't like you, especially if you have a good work ethic, if you are there on time, if you are going for a promotion. Like, y'all listen, when I was going for this promotion, at the time, I didn't have no car. Like, y'all, I was catching the bus. I was having to walk in the rain. So I felt like if I'm going to come in here, I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to do what I need to do so I can get this promotion. And then here she come, not even putting in the work. Like, she had already been at the job months before I came. So I feel like she felt some type of way because of that. Like, she had already been there. The promotion was never really offered to her, but I think that the work ethic just might not have been there. I don't know. I'm not going to think for the boss or the manager at that time, but you guys, I'm telling you.
So imagine your new best friend at work comes in a couple of months, maybe even a year or two down the line. She's reaching out to the boss trying to get a promotion and a raise. That's completely natural and normal. But imagine you've been there for a couple more years and you never thought to do that. So now all of a sudden you're taking your friend's lead and you're actually going to the boss asking for similar things. All of a sudden it puts the boss in a tough position where he might be able to give you both raises, but he might have to pick one or the other. So I could see how that can cause a little bit of friction, definitely.
I would not suggest trying to make coworkers your friends, because in some type of way it does turn out to be a disaster. I can't stress it enough about the gossiping, talking bad about you in the job. Like, y'all don't talk about your personal business. I know that sometimes we don't have friends and we get lonely and we want to talk to somebody, but please do not tell these people your personal business. It will be around the job, y'all.
So that's obviously been echoed now twice, and I'm going to give it to you a third time, right? You need to make sure that you keep most of your personal stuff away from the office, because again, if you tell one friend, there's a good chance that one friend is actually closer to somebody else in the office. They're going to give that information over to that third person, and before you know it, everybody knows your business. And even if it's something small, it can still irritate you when you find out that, hey, if I have a conversation with John, it doesn't stay between me and John. It goes to everybody. That can be really, really upsetting.
She got me sacked. Oh, we're going to let you go because you keep calling in sick. I already told the boss that I have a child, right? And it was winter and you're putting on aircon, right? That's making me sick. Also, it was his first year at nursery. I explained to you every time I called in sick that my son is ill. I cannot make it in. I can make it up to you. Didn't want to hear it. Oh, because what was it? Because you keep calling in sick, we have to let you go. So I was like, okay, fair enough, right? They let me go a week before my birthday, right? And it was just the way that they did it. Treated me like shit and then just got rid of me, right? At the point, that was just money. I was just at that job, to make money, just because at that time, the narcissist was financially abusing me very, very heavily, where I had to look after my child and he wasn't in nursery and I had literally no money. I was really, really, really struggling. Like, I had nothing. So I had to make a couple £100 just to pay bills, just so I can feed my son. They knew all of this. I know people dealing with this right now where, they've taken them off the contract where they're a full-time permanent staff, and now they're working at different places. And they make them work in places where it's too far to get to. And if you turn down the work, you don't get paid. So it ruins their paycheck. At the end of the month, they haven't got nothing. And also in the contract, he can't work in other places. So if he doesn't get work that day, he can't go somewhere else and work for another company. So I understand what they do. They force you out of work. They force you to deal with it. They force you to abuse people. And I feel like with my situation, the reason why they didn't like me, because they couldn't understand what I was saying in terms of, if everyone goes out for drinks, I'm not going. I've got my friends. I don't need to be chilling with no work colleagues.
It's so funny when you look at her side of the story. Her side of the story does make sense. Look, I told these folks in advance that I had a situation where if my son is sick or if I need to pick him up from daycare, you have to be able to give me that green light to do so. And it sounds like they did. But during the warm-up period, that probation period, that's where some companies that aren't necessarily the biggest in the world want to see if you make a good fit with their family. Are they your family? No. Are they your best buddies outside of work? No. But I get the feeling a little bit here with Escaping the Madness that she kind of was a little put offish. It sounds to me like she didn't really like them. And when somebody doesn't like me, a lot of times it's not that easy for me to really want to work with them full time and for a long period of time. An interesting tidbit here, she's inside of her car, the windows are rolled up. I assume if it's cold, she can put the heater on, right? But I notice she's there in this giant bomber jacket, which leads me to believe she might be one of these gals that just runs cold and needs to be warm. And if you're one of these bigger gentlemen or bigger women in the office and it's the opposite where you need the air conditioning on even during the winter, hey, I've been there before.
Siri, why did you put those expectations on people who they never displayed friendship qualities, friendship characteristics? You just assumed because we've spent a lot of time together, because we have to be around each other for a long period of time, Monday to Friday, sometimes Saturday, they're now your friends. But they're not. You know, if people have not been displaying characteristics of being a friend, don't put that on them. That is not a friend. That is a colleague. Hi, how are you doing in the morning? Good morning. Oh, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me out? Da-da-da. How was your weekend? When it's 5 p.m. or whenever you finish, bye, see you tomorrow. If I see you outside in town or this place, hi, how's it going?
Why can't we be friends with our coworkers? They seem so cool, right? But the reality is they're kind of like a guy or girl on the first date. They're only giving you certain bits of information about themselves. And the reality is you probably wouldn't be very good friends on the outside of work. Otherwise, you guys would already be friends on the outside of work.
I made a mistake of thinking that this girl, because she had been a childhood friend of mine, we linked back up at the job, we cool, we vibing. But when I started really taking my job serious and stuff, like I can just kind of feel the tension. She felt that I was kind of coming in and taking the position, but to me, I wanted the position because I don't have a car. Like y'all, I didn't have a car at the time. I'm trying to just get up on my feet, and I feel like my work ethic is speak for itself. So what do people do? They try to go for promotions. Like she started turning against me, y'all. Like she was asking me to do shifts with her, and I would come in and she was late. Like I be doing all the work, and then she comes strolling in, and I think one day it just kind of caught me off guard, and I was so mad. Like y'all, I was so mad because that is stressful work. It's very, very stressful. So I was mad. I was very mad. So I distanced myself. I kind of fell back off that, and at that moment, y'all, that's when I really knew that trying to make friends in the workplace is not a good idea.
So again, Glow Up Glam here might be completely right. But again, if you look at it from her friend's point of view, your friend that you've known since grade school comes into your job, they're taking the bus, it's hard for them to get to work. All of a sudden, they're trying to put more effort through, which they have a right to do, right? To better themselves. And it could be hurtful for you. You're seeing somebody leapfrog over you. And it can really lead to you not feeling all that great about your job, and therefore you start coming in late. And before you know it, these two coworkers and lifetime friends don't even want to be in the same room together. You want to know something, guys? These are the things that we all vent about every single day in this country and around the world. These are all things that if you take a walk every single day, you might be able to calm down and come down to earth and make a good decision. Do I want to stay or do I want to go? Do I want to be friends with this person or should I stay away from this person? But either way, I hope you come back to visit us tomorrow. We'll see you then.